how likely is it that we're going to get a vaccine before Christmas this year?
Morning, Youssef. I think it is a long shot. It is possible, but I think on balance, it's likely that we will see the vaccine starting to come through next year rather than this year.
Kate, it's Amory in London. Thanks so much for joining us. What's your best guess on how long immunity lasts for those who have had COVID? And if we were to see a vaccine, will it be something like the flu vaccination where you have to get one every season?
Two questions. So let me ask the second one. We think that it is possible that this will be like a flu jab where you'll need annual flu shots. We are still, though, pursuing the opportunity of trying to find a sterilizing vaccine. So that is one where you are prevented from infection completely. So we're exploring that, but we think that it is certainly possible that we will only find a vaccine initially that will reduce the severity of symptoms and that we'll have to keep dosing to maintain that immunity. Because you're right, Anne-Marie, we are not seeing evidence of long-lasting immunity from those people who have had COVID, and we are seeing a decline in the antibodies that they generate as a result of the infection.
So once a vaccine is found, how does the government approach the rollout in terms of logistics, in terms of protocol, in terms of standards?
It's a massive, complex effort. So we are deep in the planning now. And of course, we're doing it with lots of different scenarios because we do not know which vaccine is likely to actually prove to be both safe and effective. And according to the different type of vaccine, the characteristics in terms of things like the cold chain are different. So some vaccines need to be kept at -80 degrees, some just at normal fridge temperature. So we are planning everything from large national vaccine centres through to small vaccination centres in polling stations, so that we've got a very broad set of planning scenarios being worked up now. And we are also manufacturing the vaccines now, before we know whether any of them work, so that should any of them show to be safe and effective, we will then have vaccine available to start dosing those high-risk cohorts who are most vulnerable.
Kate, if the UK is the one that ends up winning the vaccine race, how does the UK decide who is going to get the vaccine within the United Kingdom as well as globally? These are going to be coveted inoculations.
So I just challenged the concept of the UK winning the race. We've got Oxford, which is the most advanced vaccine, but in our contract with AstraZeneca and Oxford, we have made it a requirement that if this vaccine is successful, they are obliged to distribute it across the world so that everybody who needs access to the vaccine will have access. So I'll be delighted if Oxford vaccine works and comes out first. That would be fantastic. But that does not mean this is a UK first vaccine. We have a very clear vaccination guidance from the committee in the UK called the Joint Committee for Vaccinations and Immunisations. And that's a body of expert vaccinologists that advises the UK government. And they have told the government that the priority for receiving the vaccines are the elderly, the people with comorbid conditions like type 2 diabetes, the frontline healthcare workers and ethnic minorities within the UK. So those people represent the priority groups who would get vaccinated first.
Kate, how satisfied have you been with coordination with other influencers, other leaders in the industry, even beyond UK borders? Has that been up to scratch as far as you're concerned?
Again, just to be clear, I don't consider this a border issue. What we've been looking at for the UK is to secure rights to the most promising vaccines anywhere in the world, wherever they've come from. And then we are also very focused on how can we play our part in this global pandemic to ensure that any safe and effective vaccines can be distributed to low-income countries, middle-income countries, and those countries that actually need the vaccine. So in terms of relationships with the pharmaceutical and the vaccine companies, it's been phenomenal. We've had fantastic discussions at all levels and very positive, rewarding discussions with the other countries' governments. Again, very open and willing. So I've never seen any level of collaboration as cooperative as this or as fast moving, actually. I mean, the fact that this is a virus that was identified at the beginning of the year, and we have now 2 companies in large phase 3 efficacy studies, that is amazing.
Yeah, it is a really good point, Kate, considering the fact that everyone thought Ebola was one of the quickest vaccines we've ever seen and a huge feat. But that took 5 years. I have a question I want to ask you to come back to that point about next year. Do you see in the first half of the year or the second half of the year? Because a lot of businesses and the economies are riding on a vaccine.
Yeah, I hope it's the first half of the year. So basically, there are different types of vaccine formats. And the most advanced of the vaccines that are in the clinic now are the ones that we have least experience with. And the vaccine formats which are much more established are the ones that are coming up a little bit later. So the more established vaccines start getting, assuming they're safe and effective, we'll start to see in the second half of the year. But the more advanced vaccines, about which we know less, will start to come in earlier. So it may be that those novel ones won't work. I think we will see some level of efficacy. And so far, we've seen good safety. So I would be optimistic that it would be the first half of next year, but it's certainly possible that it would slip.